Trump. So, a government shutdown looms after a second vote was rejected, and we think that they're going to go ahead and go with Plan C. But let's bring y'all up to speed on what's going on.
A group of hardline Republicans revolt and vote to reject a Donald Trump and Elon Musk-backed spending bill to avert a government shutdown. And with the deadline for a deal now just hours away, many are wondering if anything can be done to keep the government running. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Caputo joining us now with what could happen next. Tim.
Mark, desperate times call for desperate measures tonight. At least one Republican says he wants President-elect Trump to come to Washington to help negotiate. So listen, Plan A was shut down by President Trump earlier this week, former president, I should say. Plan B didn't have the support of any Democrats and dozens of Republicans, and there never was a Plan C in the works. But now there has to be, and it's got to get done in less than 24 hours. It's not exactly a vote of confidence from the House Speaker when asked if they'll avoid a government shutdown tomorrow.
We'll see.
Speaker Mike Johnson left the Capitol without consensus and without a clear plan to pass a spending proposal Friday after the House rejected a Trump-backed bill today. Both parties blaming each other.
Extreme MAGA Republicans are driving us to a government shutdown.
How did Hakeem Jeffries start to get so much visibility? When did he become the man of the Democratic Party? I wonder if they're trying to set Hakeem Jeffries up to eventually try to run for president of the United States of America. I wonder if they're trying to make him like the new Obama. He not, to me, but how did he start getting so much visibility?
The Democrats decided they want to try to shut it down, but we're going to keep working.
All but two Democrats voted against this 11th hour proposal, but the loudest opposition to the latest Republican plan, which would have suspended the debt ceiling for 2 years, came from within its own party. 38 Republicans also voting no.
I am absolutely sickened by a party that campaigns on fiscal responsibility and has the temerity to go forward to the American people and say, you think this is fiscally responsible. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Tonight, we spoke with California Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove hours after the latest vote. She says there was a bipartisan bill on the table that would have passed on Wednesday if billionaire Elon Musk didn't pressure Republicans to vote no.
They're incredibly afraid of Elon Musk and his vice president, Donald Trump. This election was all about the cost of living too high. And
so you see how they continue to try to throw shade by saying President Elon Musk and his vice president, Donald Trump. We gonna get there. We gonna get there in the next couple of segments.
So instead of having a bill that would put money in the hands of the American people, they want to pass a bill that would grant tax breaks to the richest of the rich.
Representative Kamlager-Dove is in Washington and is prepared for another long day Friday.
I'm going to be here as long as it takes.
But as Congress faces this looming deadline, the harsh reality of a likely government shutdown is setting in.
When I ran for office, I said that I would not vote to raise the debt ceiling. And so I've never voted to raise the debt ceiling. I love Donald Trump, but he didn't vote me into office. My district did.
You want to shut it down?
I'm not afraid of a shutdown.
They are not giving up. There are reports tonight that Representative Chip Roy, that Republican you heard who called the latest proposal shameful and embarrassing, he's scheduled to meet with Speaker Johnson and J.D. Vance around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, bright and early, about those 38 no votes by Republicans today. Roy, who is the policy chair of the Freedom Caucus, may be hoping to find some conservative compromise that could get all Republicans on the same page.
Here's my thing that really bothers me about this whole thing is that I don't understand why this is a provision, even in a shutdown, is that Congress still gets paid. That's the part that I'm still trying to. How is legislators still being able to get their health care coverage? Because listen, I'm cool with a shutdown. I'm 100% cool with a shutdown. Shut it down and fix it the right way. And these conversations should have been being had a long time ago instead of it being an 11th hour thing. And, I know it's some people, including liberals inside of the chat. Shout out to the liberals inside of the chat. We are not an echo chamber. What up to my girl, Mika? We are not an echo chamber over here. And so we invite anybody to have their opinion. I'm going to have my opinion. I'm going to give y'all the facts and then I'm going to give my opinion on top of it. And we don't censor anybody. So anybody can rock out. And I was telling them last night on After Hours that I am one of the very few content creators that do not trip about people having a difference of opinion. I understand that the chat do what the chat do. I even look at the chat as my co-host, and I don't censor anybody. The only thing that I ever say is if you are going to be overly disrespectful, Don't talk about nobody's kids. Leave everybody's spouses out. Try not to be too vulgar, especially, read the room. If you're on the Millionaire Morning Show, we're going to keep it a little bit more G. If you are on after hours, you can get a little bit more dicey and racy in your conversations. But we don't censor people here. I never censor people. I think that everybody should have a voice, and I believe in freedom of speech, even in the chat. I know that there's other content creators that don't like to see that. They don't like all of that smoke. They don't like you criticizing them. If you are liberal, be liberal. If you are Republican, be Republican. And even if you agree with me mostly on my views and you disagree with me with one specific subject, I'm cool with that too. Just know that I might respond to you though. All right. But I don't understand how these legislators still get paid. They be going on vacation, still getting paid, and they act like they still working for the people. That is so weird to me. This is JD Vance and several other legislators speaking on what's going on with this government shutdown that's basically in its 11th hour right now.
The Democrats just voted to shut down the government, even though we had a clean CR, because they didn't want to give the president negotiating leverage during his first term, or during the first year of his new term. And number two, because they would rather shut down the government and fight for global censorship. They've asked for a shutdown, and I think that's exactly what they're going to get.
I mean, look, the vote just occurred, so we got to go talk and see what's next. I'm happy, as always, to have any conversation. Happy to talk to the president. Happy to talk to the speaker. But what I will tell you is, not going to go vote for another debt ceiling increase without actual specifics on what the cuts will be. That's a non-starter for me.
This just stinks. That's why America doesn't trust government, and it's for good dadgum reason.
And you said shut it down.
That's what it takes to bring us to the table.
Any extra supplemental ought to stand on its own merits, not be attached to it, and it ought to have pay-fors, and the debt limit must not be increased without commensurate spending cuts and fiscal reform.
When I ran for office, I said that I would not vote to raise the debt ceiling, and so I've never voted to raise the debt ceiling. I love Donald Trump, but he didn't vote me into office. My district did.
You want to shut it down?
I'm not afraid of a shutdown.
All the things that we've been discussing. So, what exactly is in or out hasn't been decided, but, you start with keeping the government open, and we've, tried a few different things today that most of our members went for, but the Democrats decided they want to try to shut it down. But we're going to.
Somebody said they can't even tell us what those drones in New Jersey are about. The government is useless. Shut it down forever. It will only make the people less poor anyway. Well, I tapped into some of my sources. Very, very, very high-ranking people and people that have super a lot of clearance. I don't know how true this is, so I'm just going to say allegedly. But what they are telling me what these drones are in New Jersey and all of these places is that it's looking for, if I'm not mistaken, did he say nuclear? Or did he say, I forgot what the word is. I want to be careful with my words here. But basically, those drones are being flown by the government to find inconsistencies in different places because they want to make sure that there's no terrorist attack going on. So it has special capabilities. This is what's being told to me. Don't take my word for it. I'm just going to tell you what's being told to me by several different government sources that says that, and they told me, leave a name out of it and all of that. But basically what it is that I'm being told that these are special drones that are being flown by the federal government to make sure that there is nothing that is being plotted and planned and that there's no inconsistencies in the type of materials that's being tipped off from the federal government, maybe radioactive. I don't know what the word is or whatever that we're looking for, but basically being tipped off from the federal government to make sure that there's no terror attack on the loose. So at night they fly it in order to try to reduce the amount of visibility that comes along with it. They still have to have certain FAA and stuff like that on there, but there's a lot of things that the government is trying to prevent from happening before it happens. And that is one of the reasons, allegedly, that is one of the reasons why they are flying those drones everywhere, because they are getting tipped off about different things that could or couldn't happen. Now, somebody in the chat is saying, Well, Anton, why won't they just tell the people that? Because they don't want people to panic, especially in certain areas. And so they are basically going through and doing preventative things to make sure that certain things are not, cannot, and will not happen because they have to be on top of that. They don't want to cause a panic. They don't want there to be outspread and outrage and for there to be more conspiracy theories and things like that. So they are remaining tight-lipped, and in their eyes, they are doing their job um, to make sure that there's not a terrorist attack on hand. So that is what I heard. That is what's being communicated to me. And I'm just being transparent with y'all. I don't know how true it is. Do not take my word for it. Don't say Anton told you. But I am telling you that that is what's being communicated, and they don't want to say that to the general public because they do not want that to cause mass hysteria and a panic and an outbreak. And so certain government officials are staying away from certain areas because they know that they're getting tipped off about different things that could or would or possibly could happen. And so they're doing preventative to make sure that there's nothing happening. And then y'all also got to remember that you got an inauguration coming up. Okay. They have an inauguration coming up. So they want to make sure that there's not mass panic and mass spread. And then you combine that with the fact that they had the assassination attempts. So it's a lot going on and they have to be on top of it. And they're trying to be proactively on it to make sure that nothing happens inside the U.S. borders with everything that's going on. So I'm just giving y'all insight on what was told to me from my sources, and I have some really, 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 really good sources. All right, so shout out to y'all. Let me move over into one more video before we move on. And this is House Speaker Mike Johnson talking about the spending deal before the 11th hour. Take a look.
Is there going to be a different bill on the floor today?
Are you going to vote today? Yeah, we're...
No. Listen, the Air Force guy is not a source. This don't have nothing to do with the Air Force guy, all right? I have some really good sources, so let's just continue. Forget I said anything.
This morning, so y'all stay tuned. We got a plan.
You've reached a new agreement?
We'll see.
Chaos on Capitol Hill, a critical meeting inside the office of House Speaker Mike Johnson as the clock is ticking towards a government shutdown. Members of the House Freedom Caucus sitting down right now with the Speaker and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, as well as Donald Trump's pick to run the Office of Management and Budget. Vance and Johnson scrambling to get all Republicans on the same page after 38 GOP lawmakers voted against a Trump-backed spending measure last night, joining Democrats, a plan that was drawn up at the 11th hour after pressure from Trump and Elon Musk killed a bipartisan funding bill. Joining us now, CNN's Annie Greer. Annie, what can you tell us about this meeting that is happening right now and what it may signal?
Well, this is about Republicans trying to get on the same page. They desperately want to pass something to keep the government open, but as we saw last night, 38 Republicans bucked their own leadership in voting against the plan to keep the government open because they didn't support the extension of the debt limit. So now, by bringing all the key stakeholders in one room, the hope is that there will be enough consensus to try and move forward. In fact, we caught up with House Speaker Mike Johnson this morning, who said that he believes that there is a plan and that they are going to be voting later this morning. That has not been officially announced or anything like that, but we are standing outside the meeting just down the hall trying to get new details because right now Republicans are back to square one and it's clear they don't have Democratic support to rely on.
Annie Greer, thank you so much for that late breaking news. Appreciate it. We will be checking back in with you, Kate.
And more of that. Just moments ago, Donald Trump took to social media to put out his latest statement. These are significant because it is clearly having an impact on what Republicans are doing or not doing when it comes to keeping the government funded. Here is what he put on Truth Social. We'll read it for you. We'll read it all together. If there is to be a shutdown of government, let it begin now under the Biden administration, not after January 20th under Trump. This is a Biden problem to solve, but if Republicans can help solve it, they will. That's a double backflip for you. Joining us right now is CNN political commentator Alyssa Farah Griffin and Democratic strategist and consultant.
Wait a minute. Is that the chick from The View?
Joining us right now is CNN political commentator Alyssa Farah-Griffin and Democratic strategist and consultant Simon Rosenberg.
Is she a CNN political commentator? Hold on, let me back up for a minute.
Right now is CNN political commentator Alyssa Farah.
That's the chick that be on The View, right? Let me hear what she got to say.
Griffin and Democratic strategist and consultant Simon Rosenberg. Alyssa, you want to decipher that one? I mean, what do you think of that?
Okay, so just for some historic context, I mean, I worked on Capitol Hill for years. Yes. Pretty much every Christmas, we come up to the 11th hour of a government funding deadline. But this one was avoidable. It was extremely avoidable. The last government shutdown, I was in the White House, 2018, it was 34 days, the longest in history. Yeah. So if the government were to shut down tonight or at Saturday evening, this would, and if it went as long, would spill into after Donald Trump was in office. And so one thing I would say to pump the brakes of the idea of some really long-term shutdown would be Donald Trump wants his transition to continue and he wants his inauguration to continue. He doesn't want national parks shut down when he's being sworn in at the Capitol on January 20th. So the House has to figure out what it's going to do, though. Mike Johnson has very limited flexibility here. Democrats are not inclined to bail Republicans out. But I do think it's interesting that he's basically saying, hey, Joe Biden's still president. Where are you?
Is that indicating also, I mean, Simon, let's jump into the psyche of Donald Trump on social media, because I know you love to do that. Is this also indicating he doesn't think there is a deal to be had? And so this is the beginning of the spin?
Listen, I think the real story this week is that Donald Trump's honeymoon has come to an end. His post-election honeymoon has come to an end. We saw yesterday the Fed signal that the markets are worried about his inflationary economic proposals. We're going to have the Matt Gaetz report come out any day, reminding us about his recklessness in choosing his nominees. And now we may have a government shutdown and just incredible Republican chaos in Capitol Hill. This has been an ugly few days for Donald Trump and the Republicans. And so I think they are desperately trying to figure out a path forward. And yes, of course, he's going to blame Democrats. That's what he does for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. It's not a big surprise. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, we know from history that the people that crash, that cause the government shutdown get punished by voters. And Republicans are taking enormous risks right now.
One thing this one's going to be hard, I will say, just factually, if you look at the sequence of events, it will be hard for Donald Trump to claim this is a Biden problem, because this was going to be, as I said earlier, like a footnote in this Christmas tale, because there was a bipartisan deal until Elon Musk started.
It has nothing to do with being a bipartisan deal, because a lot of these legislators are lame ducks anyway. It has more to do with, is it executing on the desires and the wishes of the American people? And Donald Trump does not want to live with a budget over the next year that does not reflect what he ran on. And he wants to do things his way. And he doesn't want a lame duck president playing a role in how he's going to be running the federal government. He's going to trust his sources. He's going to trust the people that's closest to him. He's going to trust his business advisors. He's going to trust the people that helped him get back into the White House in the first place. Yes, I do think that the government is going to shut down. I do not think that they're going to avoid a government shutdown. And I'm okay with that. Shut the government down. Shut it down. But we're going to get more to this woman shortly. I didn't know that she was a political commentator for CNN, but we're going to get more to that anyway. I think that they should just shut the government down and get it popping. If they can't put a temporary spending bill over the next few months that's very streamlined and does not have all of the government bloatware in it, then I think that they should shut the government down and fix it the right way. Just do it the right way. If you're going to do a shutdown, then do it right now.